Okay, so we're showing up to this house. I went ahead and turned the AC on. The indoor fan motor kicked on, but nothing is happening out here. So we're gonna determine what is going on. I'm gonna go and open up the service panel and see what's going on. Okay, so you can hear the humming from the system, and just looking in here, I could look at this cap in a box, which should not be in the box, but the cap, the capacitor right there, is bubbled up on the top, where it's bulged out, so I know for a fact that's gonna be bad. So we're gonna begin by changing that out. I'm gonna go disconnect power. Okay, the buzzing stopped, but we're gonna go ahead and check to make sure there's no voltage. I'm gonna try to do this with one hand, but I've got got it set on volts AC. I'm gonna go and check voltage between both legs. One here, one there. No volts there. I'm gonna go between, sorry about the camera. So one leg to the other leg, I am getting 120 volts. So if I had touched any of that, even though it says it's disconnected at the disconnect right there, I would have gotten shocked. That's actually the first time I've seen that in person. So let's see what the other one does. Oh wow, okay, so I'm still getting voltage. I'm glad I checked that. That would have hurt. Now let's see how we can disconnect the voltage. See that reading 0 volts? I am on the incoming power, the line side of the contactor. So it's showing that I have no voltage. So most guys might stop there, but I check each leg to ground, one leg to ground to verify there's not a leg hot, and I'm getting 122 volts. I'm gonna do the other leg. So one leg to ground, 122 volts. So if I'd have touched this, that would have been a very bad day. Got to figure out what's going on. More than likely it's going to be inside this disconnect. Let's open that up, see if we can see what's going on. This right here is exactly why we check voltage before we ever touch anything. Even though I turned this breaker off completely, it is bypassed. You can see, so here's you got the power coming in from the wall, so that's your line side. The black wire goes through the breaker, it comes out the breaker into the whip, which powers the one side. So that's good, that's cut off. But I have the white wire that comes out of the wall right there is it's got this connected to it. I'm losing my train of thought right now, but the wire tie, the twist tie right there, that literally goes, it bypasses this breaker. It should go in up here, but it's broken off. So it bypasses it completely, goes straight into this whip, and it's powering this contactor. So I'm getting voltage on this side, and since the thermostat's calling, it's closed the contactor, powering the black wires going through the compressor and the fan motor, and then going through the other side of the contactor through this shunt, and it's also giving power all the way to here as well. So this is why we check power. This is why we always got to be safe. So there's two ACs for 2 and 4 and for 10 and 12, but they're both 50 amp breakers. I'm not sure which one's which, so we're just going to be safe and cut both of them off. Then we're going to go test outside to make sure it's cut off. Okay, so now we've got it cut off. Got both circuit breakers cut off inside. We're testing from leg to leg, which we already know is 0. And we're going to go from one leg to the other. 0 volts now, which is good. And then for the other leg, just to verify the other leg doesn't have power, one leg to ground, 0 volts. So we're safe to work on this now. What we're going to do, I'm going to take the screwdriver and I'm going to discharge this capacitor. Make sure it's not holding voltage. Okay, so that's good. We'll go ahead and take that out. I'm not even going to test it. I'll probably test it just for fun, but it's obviously bulged up at the top, so it's bad. We just need a 45.5, one of the most common sizes. Let me go replace that real quick. Okay, so we've got the new capacitor right here. It's rated for 45.5, just like the old one was. Plus or minus 5% was the tolerance rating. This one's got plus or minus 6%. The other thing we're looking for is to make sure it's rated for, so I can focus that, 440 or 370 volts AC with 60 to 50 hertz. Everything in the US uses 60. So we have 440 volts or 370 volts. You can always go up, but don't ever go down. So you can, if you have a 370 volts, you can go up to 440, but you never want to put a 370 on a 440. So let's see, other than that, this is 50, 60 hertz, so either one works. So we're ready to put this back in it. It is smaller, but it still has the exact same rating, so there's no difference there. So both work perfectly fine. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and connect the wires back. Brown goes on fan, and if any of them are loose, we're going to make sure there's a tight connection. So I'm just going to squeeze the terminal just a little bit, just to make sure when I put it on here, it doesn't slip and slide at all when I tug on it a little bit. So we've got blue's going to go on common. That one's got a wiggle room, so we're going to tighten this one as well. Okay. This one goes on Herm. Blue is on Herm, and then you got your two yellows go on common. Tighten that one down just a little bit. It's not terribly loose, but it's loose enough for me to want to make sure it's perfect. Might as well be really good before I leave. Never want a chance something going wrong and having to come back. That's just inconvenient for everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go get some strapping to put that in. Make sure it's secured to the housing. Don't want to leave it dangling like that, and I do not like it when people leave it in the box. So I'm also going to put this disconnect cover back on. We know it's bypassed right here, so I'll let her know about that. She's already aware of it, but I'll make sure it's in the service report as well, and we'll get this put back on and go from there. All right, so we got the disconnect cover put back on. I went ahead and wrote over here, disconnect was bypassed. I wrote it in here to make sure it cannot be missed. Warning, disconnect bypassed. That is an extreme safety issue that if you are not testing for power before you start touching these wires in here, then you can get electrocuted, and that is very dangerous. So thankfully I was cautious enough to do that, and I make sure to do that every time for this exact reason. I've also listed the size of the capacitor, 45.5. That way I don't have to, or the next person doesn't have to pull this out and twist it around, do all kinds of extra work just to see what size it is. It's already written up there. They can just pull the wires off, test it real quick, and be done with it. So I know this is good. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn the system on, make sure everything starts up properly. Then we're going to check refrigerant pressures and also go check the air filter upstairs. Make sure we got good airflow the rest of the way, and hopefully this will be the end of it. Okay, so I've got the gauges on along with the temperature clamps, and I've got my meter ready to read the inrush of the compressor wire. Got the new capacitor on. I'm gonna go turn this on, see how it starts up. See if I can get it to focus for me. That's better. And the camera looks like it's barely spinning, but it's going full speed. Let it read. Let's get out of the inrush. inside of the compressor. Good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go check the pressures, which I can't show you on the phone, but we're running full speed now. Everything's looking good now. The famous HVAC guy. Yeah, it's running good right there. We're out. Just kidding. I'm going to check pressures now. We'll see what happens. One thing I noticed is there is actually refrigerant coming out of that valve right there, so we're going to have to replace this valve completely. No more leak. All good. Let's put the cats back on. Always make sure they got their O-ring inside there. This one actually fell out, so I'm going to put it back on. Alright, for an old system, it's working pretty well. Move on to the next one.